Chapter 4 talks about the importance of using the telephone as it pertains to customer service. And I think we oftentimes overlook the actual importance of the telephone, especially in the 21st century when customers are finding so many other ways to interact with our business through the website and through social media. But the telephone is perhaps, and more often than not, it's the first point of contact a customer has with a business. If they want to find out some information, whether it be location or hours of operation, or if you have a particular product, customers will pick up the phone and give your business a call. It really is the next best thing to actually be in there, to actually having a one-on-one, face-to-face conversation with the customer. So that being said, it's pretty important. So knowing how to use the telephone, which seems, it's just by saying it, it seems, oh, that's a pretty simple thing to do. We're on the phone all the time. Talking on a telephone is no big deal. But there are some specific tips, and the book outlines about 20 of them that talk about how to use the telephone more efficiently and more effectively as it pertains to customer service. So I'll run quickly through them, what those 20 items are, and be sure to read about them in more detail in the book. The first one starts off, actually take a little quick survey, and that's to check your phone attitude. Despite how much we use the phone, a lot of people really aren't comfortable sometimes using the phone, either to answer a call or to place a call. So if you are going to be in customer service, if you are going to be in business, it's good to see kind of where you stand as far as the telephone attitude spectrum. So take that little quiz there on page 57 and see how you're doing. And if you do poorly, then this chapter is for you. Contact and compare your company. If you are a supervisor and you want to find out how your company rates, give a number in your company call and find out how people are answering the phone, or call your competitors and see how their telephone response skills are. Avoid unnecessary call screening, whether it be asking a customer to identify themselves, you're trying to forward them on to somewhere else, or having too many barriers in place that prohibit the customer from getting to the person that they want to talk to. And you see that quite a bit in organizations where you get the automated system and you have to press 1 to speak to so-and-so, 2 to so-and-so. In some cases, those types of setups are almost comical, the number of roadblocks they put into place that prohibit a customer from talking to a live body. Answer with professionalism. And the book gives some suggestions for what it means to answer the phone in a professional manner. As far as what to do and say, answer promptly and be prepared to handle calls. The book recommends that phone calls should be answered within at least 2 rings. That shows the customer that you're eager to take the call and ready to help them. Use courtesy titles when talking with the customer on the phone, Mr. So-and-so, Ms. So-and-so. It's just, a respectful thing to do in any type of customer interaction, whether it be on the phone or in person. Thank people for calling when they're done. Using proper courtesy at the end of the call, and tell them thank you very much for calling. Have a good day. Just again, pretty common polite tips that you would want to use as much as you can in everyday conversation. Smile. That's an interesting one, but it's been shown that people who smile when they're on the telephone, that smile can actually be conveyed through attitude, through tone of voice on the phone. There's actually an airline company, I think it's Southwest Airlines, that would, in training their customer service representatives, would have a mirror in front of them so they can ensure that they're smiling when they're on the phone with the customer. Be sure the conversation is over before hanging up. Make sure that the person at the other end, the customer, has said what they want to say. A lot of times this can be done through clarification, repeating things back. But boy, at any cost, avoid hanging up on a customer who's not done talking to you yet, because that will hurt the business in the long run. Handle the upset caller with tact and skill. Sometimes we do get customers on the phone that we do want to hang up on. The angry customers, it's not recommended that you do that. So the book gives some suggestions. Well, how do you handle the extremely irate and boisterous person on the phone? And it's same as it was really with any type of one-on-one interaction with with an upset customer. There's a right way to do it, and so pay attention to those tips in the book. Again, be tactful and businesslike on page 61. There's kind of a checklist there of some, say this instead of this, as far as making sure your telephone conversation is in a professional manner. Speak clearly and distinctly. Sometimes, especially here, I think in Alaska, in some remote areas, there's still some phone receptions can sometimes actually be not, be that clear as it is in other areas. So speaking as clearly and distinctly as possible is important to make sure the customer can understand you. And also speak naturally and comfortably. Don't let it be a forced, you want to have it be a business professional conversation, but not a forced conversation. And again, this is the type of thing that can come with practice and kind of helping yourself get into your own telephone rhythm, so to speak. Avoid dead air. It's a term used in radio where there are awkward pauses or awkward silences. Sometimes you have to look up some information for a customer on a computer while you're on the phone with them. Try to think of ways to bridge that silence so the customer knows that you are still on the phone and still trying to help them. On the flip side, sometimes you get the opposite of dead air, which is customers who can kind of talk on and sometimes get off topic and get into other areas that have nothing to do with the business interaction. So you want to do what you can to kind of keep the caller on track, to steer them back into the conversation, the actual reason that they called the business in the first place. And then finally, the book talks about ways to efficiently use the phone. When you're placing a call, asking the person on the other end if this is a convenient time to talk. I know I always appreciate that when someone calls me, and more often than not, even if it's not a convenient time, the fact that they bother to ask that, I'm gonna honor that and say, yeah, actually, this is a pretty good time to call. Take messages cheerfully and accurately. If you're taking a message for someone else, I'm sure you've received phone messages maybe when you have a son or daughter who answers the phone at home, when they'll write down something on a sticky note and you have no idea what it is, what the telephone number is, or who the person is. So take messages very efficiently. Make sure you get the accurate information, name, phone number, time of call, reason that they called, etc. It makes things easier in the long run. Make your greeting message efficient, whether it be a voicemail or an answering machine. The book talks about some ways to, if people don't get a live person, what's the best type of recorded message that they can reach that will not be a deterrent to them. Learn how to use your phone's features. Phones, a lot of offices nowadays have tons of extra features on them, from call forwarding to, that's the only one I can think of. But there are a lot of different features out there on office phones. If you're the person answering phones for your organization, be sure you know how to use them, especially the call forwarding, so you don't end up sending a customer to, some other part of the country when they're trying to reach someone within your organization. Plan your outgoing calls when you are getting ready to make a phone call to someone, especially if there's a lot of detail involved. Having paper and pen handy, making sure you're ready when you place that call so that you're not wasting the other person's time. And finally, never let the telephone interrupt one-on-one live customer interaction. If you're working with a customer in a business and the phone rings, let the phone ring and deal with the person who's in front of you first. So lots of good tips, and ones you might read and say, oh yeah, that could actually work in regular personal phone calls as well. So pay good attention to those, because I'm sure you're going to see those tips popping up in the next quiz. The book closes with talking about call centers. I'm not going to talk too much about that because here in Alaska, it's not really a common thing that you see where organizations are large enough to have a call center or outsource to call centers. But if you're going into business in the 21st century, you want to be sure to read that section as well. So that does it for Chapter 4, excuse me, with using the telephone. Be sure to read the chapter thoroughly, pay attention to all those tips, like I said, and read the summary as well. And then when you're ready, go ahead and take Quiz 4, and we'll see you at Chapter 5.